Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? I know it's been a while I've not posted any videos. Fortunately or unfortunately, I had to travel quite a bit, most of it internationally. So I didn't get a chance to record videos for my YouTube channel, and I have missed you guys as much as you might have been missing me. But let's get to the point today. Um, for the next 2 months, I'll be posting videos very often now because I want to enjoy my fall as well as winter time here, because the rest of the year has been full of hard work, a lot of hard work. A lot of work went into this year. Well, with that being said, let's start talking about photography. That's the intent of the channel today. Now, one quick question for you guys. Which camera do you think is the most used camera in the world? And if you think that the smartphone, your smartphone, my smartphone, one of these Apple phones and Android phones and other phones are the most used camera in the world, then that's true, because most of the people in this world are using these lenses with smaller sensors to capture their memories. The question here is it enough? Is it good enough? Are the images good enough, or are the images, let me put it this way, uh, professionally good enough? Is it good enough? Yes. And that's why people are using those cameras. Is it professionally good enough? No, it's a very flat picture. You cannot pull out the dark areas, and it's the dynamic range isn't that doesn't give you many options as you start exploring the depths of photography, different genres of photography. So yeah, it's a good sensor, but not the best. Now, cameras like the Nikon Z9, the Nikon Z8, with bigger sensors, the Sony A1, the Canon R3, R5, those are the cameras that really give you the flexibility of pulling data out of the image. The imaging sensor is strong enough to give you that much depth of field as well as dynamic range to pull that image data out and then start changing the picture, start getting the best out of the images that you take. And that's what you see online. A lot of these professional photographers who do that have those kind of cameras. So that's the topic of our conversation today. Now, can you do that using an iPhone? Probably, but not to that extent. Now, when it comes to me, I always wanted a camera that was lightweight, that was flexible enough to be carried in your hand, and you can actually do almost all genres of photography with it. I think a camera that I really liked. Now an iPhone is good, but again, not for me. When you start talking about professional photography, but the camera that I really liked. Give me a second. I'll get that camera for you. The camera that I really liked, which I again think is a marvel of engineering, again even today, is one of the best cameras that I have used. A marvel of engineering for almost all genres of photography, including street photography. Now the Z9 is absolutely the number one camera in the world today, but it can't be used that easily for street photography. It is a thoroughly professional camera, so I'm keeping the Z9 out of the picture. The Z8 is okay. I mean, it's a very good camera. I still don't think the Z8 is to the mark that the Z9 is, or the Sony A1 is, and it is not a very street friendly camera. I mean, you're still carrying a huge device in your hand as you walk. So to me, I was always looking for opportunities where I can have a camera that I can carry with me almost all the time, that gives me my professional level photography that I like, or a semi-professional level photography, however you say that. and be flexible enough to carry in my hands. My first pick was always the Sony, what is that, Alpha 7C. The 7C2 is here, but the Sony Alpha 7C was always my camera of choice. I came from the Sony system. I used to use a lot of the Sony A7 III. I used a lot of them from the 7 III series going forward, but I stuck with the 7 III for quite a bit long time. And I finally sold everything and kept this camera because this is such a fantastic marvel of engineering. You can do almost every genre of photography with this. It has its own issues. No camera is perfect, but again, this was a camera that I liked. Is it the most beautiful camera in the market? Maybe, maybe not. There are other pretty cameras out there. Talking about pretty cameras, and like I said, I have quite a few cameras. This one, the Fujifilm ZFC, was my favorite camera for a long time. I just loved this. The camera is so light, the camera is so pretty, and it does almost every genre of photography. It has its own quirks, it has its own issues. When it comes to autofocus, it is not the best as you would think the Sony A7C is, but overall, for almost all genres of photography, this camera is perfect. If you get this camera for 700 or anything less than $1,000, consider it a steal with the lens. Of course, with the lens. Body, 600 to 700 should be considered a steal. Now this is a light camera, a very light camera, and sometimes my wife uses this, and she just loves the colors that it has. This teal color that on this camera, she enjoys it. Now with that being said, it has quite a few quirks. This one, the autofocus, like I said, is not the best. I don't like APS-C cameras that much. A lot of people like him. I don't. I mean, I have a preference for full frame. I feel very comfortable with full frame cameras. So again, this camera wasn't giving me what I was looking for. It is light, very travel friendly, very good. And the kit lens that comes with it, the 16 to 50 kit lens, is fantastic. It doesn't work, doesn't feel like a kit lens. Now, as I kept on searching for a camera that had good colors, good features, provided great flexibility for me as a travel photographer as well as semi-professional, I kind of stuck with the Z6 II for some time. I liked it. The sensor was fantastic. But the issues with the Z6 II was that Nikon hadn't fixed their autofocus mechanism. It wasn't that good. And Nikon's overall performance with the processor wasn't really good for all genres. You were missing genres like high-speed photography with animals, with fast-moving subjects, with birds, with sports. Z6 II was not the best camera. Of course, you can still take pictures with the Z6 II, but it was not the best camera when it came to sports. Sony A1 was really good, but again, I had kind of moved on from the Sony line because of my own reasons. But again, coming back to Nikon, the Z9 was the first camera that actually gave almost all genres of photography. Wasn't very easy to handle. The Z8 was the next one. Was a good camera, but wasn't very easy to handle. But recently, like I said, I had sold my Z9 and I was trying to move into a different level of photography, and I'm trying to sell my other cameras as well as I go on. I came across this camera, the Nikon Zf. And I want to give you my impressions for what I think about the Zf. In short, the Zf is one of the best cameras that I have used. There are some issues, but most of the issues have been removed. Autofocus is top notch. No complaints about autofocus. I don't feel like I'm using a different camera. I feel like I'm using a Sony autofocus system, and sometimes better than that. It has the feel of a street camera. As you start using it on the street, you feel very comfortable using this camera. The best part of it is the looks, but other than the looks, as you get down inside the body, it is just a fantastic camera. It's like an old man with a lot of artificial intelligence technology skills. It's like an old man who is in his 60s or 70s, but knows a lot of technology and is amazing with all of the technology. So he's competing with the younger kids out there in the market. And this is exactly true for this camera. This camera has the guts of the Nikon Z8. Fantastic autofocus, fantastic processing rate, fantastic video, photo and video, fantastic speed of processing of files is amazing. I have no complaints. I didn't even, for 1 second I didn't feel like I was using I was not using a CF Express card. That's how fast this camera works. Buffer performances has no issues over here. So again, this is one camera that I have no regrets buying. When I bought my Sony, I felt like there were some issues. A1 was very expensive, but it still had some issues. I never bought the A1 though. The Z9 that I bought was a fantastic camera, but it was pretty heavy with heavy lenses. You needed a tripod or else your wrist would start paining. That's my opinion though. The Z8 was a good camera, but again, wasn't at the par that the Z9 was, price-wise. And this one is half the price of the Z8 with all the features of the Z8 inside it. And a very good looking camera as you walk in, take photos on the street. The best part, there are a few best parts, but the best part that I think is the stabilization. The in-body stabilization is 8 stops of in-body stabilization. I have not heard that so far in any camera body so far at the price point that this sells. And that makes it an amazing camera for street photography. The looks, the tactile feel, I have always liked it. I always liked my ZFC and I always wanted Nikon to produce a full frame camera that was like the ZFC, but with enhanced features. And that is exactly what this camera is. So for me, it's a wish that has come true. Now, the next thing that surprised me is in the manual mode, it actually finds the object for you. It kind of uses its artificial intelligence and finds the subject for you, and you can basically punch in the subject and then manually focus on the subject and then take the picture. So that is very handy for me, and that's where I think the biggest bang for the buck is for this camera. Now, I have been doing photography for a while, and in doing so, I have collected some lenses which are manual lenses. And they were sitting around after I had moved on to the Z system, because I really didn't find a good camera to use them. There were some, I used them on my Z6 to Z6, but nah, I was never satisfied with it. Those lenses, some of those lenses are the ones that have really amazed me as I've been using this Nikon Zf for the last 10 days are the Nikon 50mm f1.2. You see how good this lens is? 50mm f1.2. I have been using this lens on my ZF or ZF. That's one lens that has surprised me quite a bit, and the imaging that is coming out of it I've always liked, but the ZF is doing the right justice for the images that come out of the 50mm f1.2. The other one that I really liked, this was one of my favorite lenses, favorite travel lens. It is the Voigtlander 40mm f1.4. I just kept on using it. I mean, it's so easy to travel with this lens, and the imaging is so nice that can't stop using it. So I've started using this again on my ZF. That's another thing that I like. But the star of the show, and I'm surprised that the next lens that I'm going to show you is a very old lens. It's from the 1970s, even before I was born, mid 1970s. And I was very surprised. This was one lens that I had used on my Nikon D750. And after the D750, I never used it. And I've always used it in manual mode. And this one is the 135mm f 3.5. Is it 1 point? No, if it's 135mm f 2.8. Wow, sorry. I've not been using this lens for a long time, but recently I used this lens on my Zf, and oh my goodness, the images that are coming out of this lens is stunning. And whoever owns this lens, I would recommend you try out this lens on the Zf, and you're going to love it. The combination of the Zf and the 135mm f 2.8 AI lens is just fantastic. I'm gonna so what I plan to do is I plan to take this lens out today and start shooting with this lens. And I'm going to share some pictures after I come back tonight in my next video. I told you I'm going to upload quite a few videos, right? So I'm going to start using this lens, and today I'm going to dedicate my whole day to this lens only and show you pictures of how it looks like on the Zf. The 24 megapixel sensor, the backside illuminated sensor that Nikon has, which they had it on the Z6 too, which by the way was my favorite sensor, is a fantastic technological advancement that Nikon made. I loved my Nikon D750 sensor, and after that I really missed a sensor like that, which I found on the Z6 II. I'm glad that Nikon carried that sensor over to the Zf. So guys, I'm going to take this lens, the 135mm f 2.8 lens, AIS lens. It's a manual lens. Now the interesting part is that I use this lens with an adapter, and that is an autofocus adapter. So that autofocus adapter is a TechArt adapter, and that TechArt adapter converts this lens into an autofocus lens on my Zf. Slightly longer feel at that point of time, but you know what, I just hold my lens as I walk. I don't hold my camera, just hold my lens as I walk. But the benefit is that now this lens becomes an autofocus lens. This lens that I've always used as a manual lens now becomes an autofocus lens, which is a big deal to me. So I'm going to take this out today, take some pictures with it, come back and let you know tonight in the evening, or in the evening, and yeah, stay put. And if you have any questions about the Zf, let me know. To me, this is a fantastic camera that you should invest in. You are getting quite a bit at the price. Battery life is top notch. Camera is amazing, very good looking camera. I love this color, and it opens up a lot of things that I've not used in the past so far. So with that being said, guys, thank you very much. I'm going to keep posting my videos again, and yeah, let's stay connected. Till then, bye.